It's green for go. They're racing.
He says go.
He says ta-da.
And Tiger Tara roars away from them on the home turn.
Here comes another big boil over.
Equine athleticism at its best. The king is in the castle once more.
This is in one race. The rest are almost in another postcode.
She is a star with a capital S.
It's going to be a triple treat, a miracle three-peat. Ladies and gentlemen, you have witnessed history here at Menangle. What about that?
It's getting right up on the sprint lane and it's going to bolt in.
Hello and welcome to the Sunday session, part of the Sprint Lane podcast series for Harness Racing New South Wales. My name is Greg Hayes and it is great to have your company this week. So much to get through. Before we go too far, I want to go back to last week's podcast. I had young Jai Coney on the show for the first time after his big Friday night at Parks, and I mentioned he'd driven 3 winners. Well, in fact, I missed the 4th winner. It was the first time Jai had driven 4 winners in his career, something he won't forget, and he was too polite to say anything during the interview. So congratulations to Jai on his big effort at Parks when he drove 4 winners at a meeting for the first time in his career. Second piece of the puzzle in the Eureka has been put into place after the running of the Hayden on Saturday night at Albion Park, although even that had some controversy mixed in. Of course, Racing Queensland owns a slot, and the winner of the Hayden represents the body in the big race. Well, last night's race was a cracker, the Hayden. Plenty of early speed with the Chantal Turpin duo, Delhi Rowe and Attachment burning across to find the lead. Now, the Dixon train charged ahead, then moved around to the death seat and ensured there was no loafing up front. And in the end, it became a war of attrition. Charge Ahead was beaten, and the pegs became the place to be. Delhi Rowe behind the leader was flat out. Cool and Classy looked to be travelling okay, 3 pegs, and Call to Order, 4 back, was full of running. The Red Seas parted for Call to Order, and it shot up the sprint lane, and Attachment, who was like a dazed fighter on the ropes, rolled down into the sprint lane, impeding Call to Order in the run home. Now, Chris Barsby picked it up in the call, and I must admit, watching the race live, I thought the result was about to be overturned. So, Call to Order, despite finishing second, gets there on protest and gets through for Kevin and Kay Seymour, and they've still got their own slot to fill. They are going to be really well represented again, that is for sure, in the Eureka in 2025. Closer to home, You Bet Your Tiger Pie took out the free-for-all at Menangle with Max Delight running another gallant placing after racing outside the leader. Captain's Knock was the short-priced favourite in the race, but something wasn't right with him. Brad Hewitt was at the horse to get him to leave the gate, and he normally blasts off the arm. And at the cages, Brad was at him again to get him to extend. He was well beaten. Something wasn't right. Brad mentioned on the podcast last week he has had issues previously, so fingers crossed nothing too serious with Captain's Knock. Speaking of Brad Hewitt, the Locomotive has begun his slow journey back to Australia. The horse has had some flu injections and then a blood test so he can enter quarantine. The flight back to Australia is mid-July. Then there's another round of quarantine when he lands in Melbourne, and he actually exits quarantine on August 3. So what's that, about 5-6 weeks away. The Kiwis came out to Menangle last night and conquered. They ran 1-2 in the first, and then David White, an Aussie who now resides in New Zealand with his wife Stacey, won with Bet and Win in the Trotters Mobile. Good to see the Kiwis using Menangle as a pit stop on their way to Brisbane for the Inter-Dominion. Even better to see a few Kiwis targeting the Inter-Dominion series. Great for the series overall. Speaking of the Inter-Dominion, Leap to Fame continued on his winning way to the series as he dominated a free-for-all at Albion Park. We saw a few short price favourites in Sydney and Brisbane last night, and he was one of the shortest. With his dominance, I guess there's only Don Hugo in the series who would look to park him in the final, and after Cambridge, Luke McCarthy might have to come up with a plan B anyway. Love the Inter-Dominion, always have. Plenty of people would know I'm a traditionalist when it comes to the series. A few changes have been made this year, but at least we have the Kiwis to make it a true Inter-Dominion. We have the Trotters series as well, and it gives the visitors a reason to go to Queensland and get out of the cold in the southern states. So really looking forward to the upcoming Inter-Dominion series. Who's on the podcast today? 3 guests this week, so plenty to get through. Mick Stanley has set up shop in Sydney at Menangle, believe he signed a 12-month lease at the training centre. We'll talk to him about that. And already the stable is starting to fire. You Betcha Tiger Pie was winning for the stable last night in Sydney. Mick was in Brisbane, where the stable won with Soho Americano. So I've put a call into Mick Stanley to have a chat with him this week about what he's hoping for in New South Wales. Young Zara Fitzpatrick drove her first Metro winner on a Saturday night at Menangle when CC and Paris took out the 2-year-old Trotters Foundation Final. Zara has been driving on a Saturday night for, I think, 3 to 4 months with limited opportunity. So great to see her crack it for that first win. We are blessed in New South Wales with so many good young drivers, and Zara can add her name to the list. She's closing in on 100 winners for her career, and I reckon that win is going to be pretty special, seeing as her mum bred, owned and trained the winner. So I'm looking forward to speaking with Zara. And my third guest today is an absolute legend in the racing industry. In fact, it was announced this week he was being inducted into the Australian Racing Hall of Fame. My old co-host on In the Gig, Mr. John Tapp, I thought I'd catch up with John and talk to him about the honour of being inducted as an associate. Not specifically harness racing, but John loves harness racing, and I'll be asking him plenty about his harness career as well. In fact, what I'm going to do, I'll split Tappy's interview into 2 parts. I'll play part 1 this week. I'll talk to John about being inducted into the Hall of Fame and what that means to him and how he started in harness racing. And then next week, I'll talk to John about his move into training in harness racing with some of his big wins, including Charlotte Brews, Victoria Oaks. So I'm looking forward to that. Speaking of faces and people from the past, before we get going, I bumped into Wayne Innes at a rugby league game yesterday. I commentate for the Parramatta Junior Rugby League every Saturday, and Wayne's granddaughter, Charlie, was playing for the Hills Bulls in a game I called. It was good to catch up with him. Hadn't seen him in a long time. He said he still gets out to the trots at Penrith, seeing it's near where he lives. Good to see him again and have a quick chat about what he's doing these days. Time to get into the podcast, though. First up, Mick Stanley.
The leader is Captain's Knock as they straighten for the run to the judge. 28 the split. Out after it is Max Delight. Coming home very strongly, You Betcha Tiger Pie. You Betcha Tiger Pie's quickly gone up to join in. Max Delight's got a lift. Max Delight, You Betcha Tiger Pie. Captain's Knock won't run a drum. On the outside, You Betcha Tiger Pie is just in front, close to home. You Betcha Tiger Pie. You Betcha Tiger Pie has beaten Max Delight, storming home Kingmaker.
What a week it's been for Mick Stanley. Winner at Albion Park on Saturday night, Soho Americano. Winner at Menangle on Saturday night with You Betcha Tiger Pie. And he won a race at Penrith on Thursday with Starting to Go. Stable is firing on all cylinders, and Mick Stanley's joining me to have a chat. Hey, Mick, how are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm well, thanks, Hazy. How are you?
Mate, good. Congratulations. It's the stable's running well at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's been a great week. It's been a great calendar year so far. I've got a great bunch of horses at the moment, probably the best crop of young horses coming through. So, to sort of make that move to set up a bit of a stable in New South Wales and to kick things off on the right note, it's been very pleasing.
Is it a long-term thing? Is it while everything during the big races for Sydney with the Eureka coming up, or is it going to be a full-time thing? What are the plans with the Sydney stable?
Yeah, I think I'd like it to be a long-term thing. So obviously there with the stabling complex, you just signed a 12-month lease, so you will at least give it 12 months to see how things go. But if we can keep churning out the winners like this week, which we all know doesn't happen every week, I'm sure it could turn into something much longer. So will you base yourself out of Sydney, or do you have to, once you come home from Queensland, will you go back to Victoria? No, I'm going to base myself out of Sydney. So, the majority of the racehorses are already there, apart from a couple of 2-year-olds that are just having a short spell in Melbourne and that, and they'll head up, in 3 or 4 weeks' time, and obviously the couple in Queensland. So, we'll base the majority of the racing stable in Sydney, so I'll be there for sure. You Betcha Tiger Pie took out the free-for-all last night, beating Max Delight, and Captain's Knock was in the race as well. Nice victory. Good drive by Robbie Morris, got there at the right time. Nice performance by the horse. Yeah, he's flying, this little horse. We brought him up to Menangle last year as he was coming through the grades, and it really brought him on as a horse. The racing at Menangle really suits him. So, he's come back this time and done a great job. Much more furnished in season, but he's just a nice opportunist. He's got a great turn of foot and can follow a hot speed, as we saw last night. So, Robbie drove him a treat, but we need to get a little bit of consistency in his drivers. For a horse that's won his past two in a free-for-all at Menangle, he's had a different driver the last 5 weeks. So hopefully now he's stringing a few together, we can get someone to settle with him.
So he'll just continue to compete in those free-for-alls at Menangle?
Yeah, that's the plan. We probably didn't think he was going to be quite forward enough to nom for an Inter-Dominion, but in saying that, he's not an Inter-Dominion horse anyway. I think while that carnival's on, he's probably well graded in the free-for-alls there at Menangle. It was good to see him take that next step because, sometimes they can come out of the 95 grade and struggle in the free-for-alls that little bit extra tempo. So, we'll just poke him around there and my dad owns him himself, so he's going to be a great little money earner for him over the next few months.
What about Rock and Roll Do? Speaking of the 95s, he went round in the 95 last night. He's only had those 2 runs back since February. Are you happy where he's at?
Yeah, I am actually very happy with where he's at. I mean, obviously he hasn't won, but I think he's progressing the right way. It's been a really tough 18 months, with him. I mean, it's been a tough career. We've had a lot of exceptional highs with him along the way, but ever since he's a 2-year-old, we've always had a lot of problems with him. So he's been a tricky horse to train. But yeah, I think this time in, he's shown glimpses of his old self. Even last night, I think the last quarter was 25-8, and he's taken ground up the straight, which he probably wasn't doing 6 months ago. So I think we're trending in the right direction. Now he's got a couple of nice runs under his belt. We can start trying to put him in the race. So like last night, the third quarter was quite slow. The old Rock and Roll Do, you would just send around the breeze. So, he's got a couple of runs. We'll see if we can drive him a little bit more like the old horse and see what he does, and that'll be the telling sign over the next couple of starts if he's going to get back to anywhere near his best.
So do you have to? Is it continual management with him because of the issues he's had?
Yeah, he is something that you got to manage. He's had a lot of issue, with his hocks and back end since he was a young horse, being so big and heavy, and then a few other issues along the way. But, as they get older, these horses that are raced at the high level always have little niggling injuries come along, and the horse that's had them from the start just makes it harder. So, we'll just manage him away. It's good up there at the training centre with a water walker and that. We can do a few things and keep him off the track and hopefully rejuvenate him a little bit.
Soho Spectre wasn't beaten far in the other 95 last night?
He was much better. He's been really disappointing for 12 months. His track work's been really good. I probably, blame myself to start before I overdrove him there. And although he probably had a gap to come out the top of the straight last night, and he couldn't take it, but in saying that, he was lengths better than his previous run. So hopefully he can build on that and get back in the winner's stall soon also.
Okay. I remember speaking to you after the Wraith Memorial when Soho Americano won that, and she's up in Queensland and she won the last there last night.
Yeah, she was super. We just brought her up early because, those 3-year-old fillies can get up in their rating really quickly. She's already a 97 rater, so she had to race the up to 95 mares at Menangle, which I'm sure that she would have acquitted herself very well. But going into a Queensland Oaks, we didn't want to give her too hard of a run. So that race there last night at Albion Park, it was just a mare's quality, so she was well graded in that, and it was good to just get a nice easy trip in transit and let her brush home and do what we wanted her to do. And she's first up for 6 weeks, and Luke was really happy with her when he came back. He said she was just coasting along and felt really sharp. So she looks like she's on target to run another good series through the Queensland Oaks.
Are you using Luke as your driver? Are you doing much driving?
No, I still will, but Luke, obviously, well known. We've been mates for a long time, and I think he's the best driver in Australia. Being biased, but so when Luke's available, he will do all my driving, and then when he can't, it'll be between myself and there's a lot of I think New South Wales has the best young driving talent in Australia at the moment. With Will Rickson and Cam Hart and Jack Callahan, Chris Gear. I think there's some exceptional drivers there. So you'd be never shy of getting a good driver if I can't do it.
What other horses have you got up there in Queensland?
I had a little 2-year-old called Soho Park Avenue. He ran third in the Bathurst Gold Crown final, which he was unlucky there. So he's spelled since then, and he's had 2 or 3 trials. Rob Watson, who owns him, has a slot in the Proto Star, so he's up here for that. He trialled very nicely at Menangle last week, so he'll go around in the Paleface Adios the week before the Proto Star, and then go in the Proto Star. So really excited to have him step out also.
Gee, Rob Watson is a great asset to have in the stable, isn't he?
Oh, he's just been fantastic. I probably wouldn't be where I am, in my training career without him. He was the first major owner that came on board, and he supported me ever since. So he's been very loyal to me and great to me, and we've had a lot of success, and hopefully we can have a lot more going forward.
Well, Mick, it's great to see you having, coming back into New South Wales, and no doubt those results will continue to come your way. Good luck up there in Queensland as well, and I'll catch up with you when you get back to Sydney.
Yeah, much appreciated. Thanks, Hazy.
As they run towards the home corner, they were followed then by CC and Paris coming up 3 deep, and Carter Carla is searching for a run, and then Miss Holly Red and Adelaide Red heading the remainder 30.5 the quarter, 3 across the track, and looming up quickly CC in Paris had quickly gone to the lead, trying to fight back as Aldebaran Tucker. Carter Carla's easing across carts to get into a clear third, but it's CC in Paris in front with 75 to go. Carter Carla's going to run into second, but CC in Paris too good, and CC in Paris beats Carter Carla.
Last night is going to be one that Zara Fitzpatrick forgets in a long time. She took out the Cordina Chicken Factory Outlet 2-year-old Trotters Foundation Final with CC in Paris, trained by her mum, and importantly, her first Metro winner on a Saturday night. So a feature race, a horse trained by her mother, a horse that was bred by a mum, owned by a mum. So that was a pretty special victory, and I'm proud to say that Zara's joining me to have a chat. Hey, Zara, how are you?
Hey, Greg, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Really well. Must have been a huge thrill last night to win with CC in Paris.
Yeah, it was. It was probably the highlight of my career so far, Greg. Just the fact that Mum trained her, and she's a family horse, and it made it even more special. And for it to be my first Saturday night win was an even bigger thrill.
You haven't been driving on Saturday nights for all that long, but you were probably thinking, when's that first winner coming around the corner? Because you are closing, I think you're into the 80s now in total number of wins. So finally nice to get that one off your back and crack it for a Saturday night winner.
Yeah, it felt like it was taking forever. I haven't had much luck, and yeah, so it was just good to get the monkey off my back, and yeah, I couldn't think of a better way for it to happen.
Now tell us a little bit about this one, because even since she went to the trials, this filly, you have been driving her. So you have been with her the whole way. She started with a couple of trials and she finished down the track. She did a few things wrong, and then she finally put it all together. Has she always shown some ability?
Yeah, she has. We bred this one. We've had her whole life, and yeah, she's always shown ability at home. Just in the trials, just a few better than her, like McDowell's one and a few of the others trialled better than her, and she just kept on improving. And yeah, she's always shown ability at home, but just probably her last 2 or 3 runs, she's just gone to another level. And yeah, credit to Dad for being patient with her, and he's done a great job with her.
Just having a look, on debut, she broke after the start, and she ended up finishing down the track on that occasion. But since then, she's been slow out at the start. You've given her a little bit of time to find her feet in those races, but she's been doing everything right. So she's obviously learning as she goes.
Yeah, her first start, she wasn't on her best behaviour. I probably just tried to rush her a bit too much early. So, I just took it nice and slow for the next couple of starts. She was a bit slow away, but she sort of learnt to just find her feet early. And like even last night and the start before, she come out a lot better, and she's getting a lot confident in herself now. And yeah, I think she'll be an even better horse next time in.
So Gladiatrix was the short price favourite last night. Did you see it go up in the air early? Could you see that it had broken?
Yeah, I could. It was unfortunate for connections there. It's not great when that happens. We've had it happen to us heaps of times, but yeah, I guess it worked out in our favour then.
Yeah, so when that happened, did it change your tactics at all, or did you continue to drive the race that you were planning to drive from the start?
Oh, it didn't really change it. My one, you can't really rush her out the gate, so I was always going to end up probably 3 or 4 fence, but it did change the way the race was going to be run, I guess, but the speed was still pretty strong throughout the race for us. And yeah, I don't think it would have made much of a difference to where I would have ended up anyway.
What were you thinking at the top of the straight? Did you think your filly could win?
Oh, yes. The way she moved when I pulled her out, I did. But then Catacoucher, the one on my back, got to my wheel, and I thought, I don't know if I'll hang on, but she kept kicking, and yeah, it was a good win.
So what are the plans now? What's Mum going to do with her?
She's got the 2-year-old Breeders' Challenge final in 2 weeks from yesterday, so she'll go around in that, and then she'll probably go out for a break for probably a month, and then come back, and we'll probably aim her up for the Vic Bred. Okay.
And in terms of her, how she's put together, is she a big filly, little filly? Has she still got some growing to do?
Yeah, she does. She's still a bit immature looking. She's only a little filly, and I think she's got a lot of growing to do, and she's also got a lot of maturing in herself to do. She just wants to get herself all worked up before the race and at home. And I think time will be her best friend, and I think she'll come back an even better horse.
Well, just having a look at your career to date, the 82 winners for your career. You drove 55 last year. You're on 27 this year, I think. But you're getting plenty of opportunities, which is good to see. I think you were driving Penrith Thursday. I think you went to Newcastle on Friday. You got your drives at Menangle on Saturday night. So getting a number of drives at the moment, which is good to see.
Yeah, it's been great. Like even last season and this season has been great as well. I've gotten a lot of good opportunities from a number of different trainers, and especially to Mum and Dad. They've been great to me and always support me, and I'm very grateful to everyone who has helped out.
You've got a special affinity with the Trotters, don't you? Because you drove Malibu last night as well, and Malibu did a good job in finishing second to London to a Brick in the 4-year and 5-year-old final. Yeah,
I love the Trotters. I probably enjoy driving them more than the Pacers. They can be hard work sometimes, but no, I really like them when when they do everything right, and yeah, they're fun to drive. And Dad's always had a number of trotters in the stable, and he does a great job with them. And yeah, they do teach you a lot in driving. And yeah, Malibu, she went good last night. London to a brick obviously was just too good for us, but he's a very good horse, and yeah, I thought she'd done a great job in holding on for second.
What's Mum's plans with her?
Well, I think she'll probably just go through her grades now, Greg. She's getting up in grade a bit now, but I think she can still win a couple there on a Tuesday, and look, I think she'll probably go down to Melbourne as well. But yeah, I think she'll just go through her grades at this stage.
She's been a really good horse for the family as well, because she won the 3-year-old trot final last year, didn't she? Did Dad drive her in that? I think he did. Yeah,
she did. That's correct. She's been a great horse for the family, and she's actually a half sister to CC in Paris. So yeah, she's out of the same mare as her, and I think she's won over 100,000 now, and has only had about 30-something starts. So, yeah, she's been a great little money spinner for the family.
And so, what's the next one out of the mare? My First Lady, a Pastor Stephen filly. Is that still around? Has the family got it?
Yeah, she's a yearling at the moment. She just finished her first prep, and she's trotting along nicely. She's a really nice type, and yeah, hopefully she can do a good job like her two sisters.
For sure and certain. Hey, Zara, great to catch up with you today. Thank you very much for joining me. Congratulations on that Saturday night winner. Very important part of your career, and good luck going forward.
Thanks, Greg. I appreciate it.
The Sunshine State will play host to the star-studded dual event, which is the 2025 Australian Racing Hall of Fame and the Australian Racehorse of the Year. The doubleheader promises to be a ceremony etched in history, as a stellar lineup of inductees will be honoured, and the champion Racehorse of the Year will be announced on Sunday, August 31 at the Star in Brisbane. Now, one of the people inducted into the Hall of Fame is John Tapp. In an illustrious career spanning over 6 decades in Australian racing, the iconic and much-loved voice of racing, John Tapp OAM, will be inducted as one of the greats of the racing industry in the associate category. Have a listen to some of the names John joins in the associates in the Hall of Fame. Banjo Patterson, Bill Collins, Tommy Woodcock, Bert Bryant, the Ingham brothers, Ken Howard, and Sir Patrick Hogan. We are talking racing royalty. I was lucky enough to work with Tappy on In the Gig for a long time. When I decided to have another crack at the media, Tappy was the first person to send me a message saying it was great to see me back. A Hall of Famer in the racing industry, and more importantly, an even better bloke. John Tapp, thank you for joining me today.
Greg, it's an absolute delight to join you on this wonderful podcast you've got going. And I hope I can hear a few more down the track now that I know the name of the podcast and how I can get it. I'll be having a regular listen, particularly on the subject of harness racing, of which you are a true aficionado.
Mate, congratulations on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. You must be extremely proud of the recognition.
I didn't see it coming, Greg. I had no idea. Normally you might get an inkling somewhere along the line because somebody can't keep their mouth shut. But on this occasion, I didn't have a clue. It was a hell of a shock, a hell of a surprise, and a very humbling moment when I got the phone call.
You were given the honour of being on a stamp back in 2007. That was part of the Australian Racing Legends Series, and there have been a number of other accolades throughout your career. But I think the induction into the Hall of Fame would have to be right at the top of the list.
Oh, absolutely, mate. I think it's, look, you mentioned the name there a moment ago when you were talking about other inductees. To be a member of any award group, which includes Banjo Patterson, makes it even better. I mean, the iconic Banjo Patterson, His love of horses is well known. His love of racing is well known. I think he was the inaugural inductee, and I find it very humbling that I'm on the same list. I really do.
Mate, you're still working, but do you ever take time to reflect on your career and everything you achieved during that time?
Well, thought flashes happen all the time, Greg. Somebody will mention the name of a horse or a trainer, a jockey or a harness driver, and I'll start to remember certain races and certain occasions. I mean, there's nobody like a racing person for memorabilia. We absolutely eat it up, and I'm one of the worst.
You retired from Sky. It's unbelievable. 2015, 10 years ago. That time has flown. You're still involved. You've got the podcast and the website. Do you miss the calling and the hosting?
I did for a while, Greg, the calling in particular, because that finished a long, long time ago, 1998 in fact, when Sky decided to go with their home racing service, which was a revolutionary thing at the time. And I was offered the opportunity to join the hosting crew from the studio. I had to make a decision. I was only 57 years old at the time and probably could have continued to call for quite a while. But these offers don't come along very often, Greg, and I was prompted to hang up the binoculars and go into the studio situation with the new Sky Racing home service. And I did miss the calling for a while, though, mate. You know, every time the Golden Slipper rolled around or the Derby or one of the other famous races in Sydney, I'd get a tingle up the spine.
Did you get contact from other race callers asking, for some advice, and did you become a sounding board for race callers finding their way?
Oh, Greg, there have been numerous situations over the years where younger callers, aspirants and young hopefuls have given me a call to run through a few of the do's and don'ts. I've received a fair bit of mail over the years from aspiring young racing commentators, and it's always been my pleasure to contribute, because I can remember back when I was desperate for information and consultation and help from those who'd been there before.
Harness racing played an extremely big part of your life for a long time. Do you miss that?
Yeah, I did, Greg, for a little while. I had to make a decision again. I was getting a bit long in the tooth. I always said, if I couldn't drive them work, I really don't want to train them. I stopped race driving many, many years ago, but when I got serious about the training, I decided to keep driving them work because I really needed to know how they were going. You can pick so much up when you're sitting in the sulky behind a harness horse. You get to know them backwards. And I really didn't want to train them if I couldn't drive them in track work. And I was simply getting too old for that caper. I only needed to get tipped out once and I could have been in big trouble. It was a tough decision. It was a reluctant decision, but it had to be made.
Was harness racing a stress relief for you in the early days, something that you did away from your job but then sort of developed into something more and you became that professional trainer? Was it just a chance for you to take some time away from work and spend some time with the horses?
Yeah, good point, Greg, because whenever I got a day off, back in the 70s and 80s, I'd spend that day off at a harness stable. And there were many, many well-known trainers who were kind enough to give me the time, give me the tuition, and allow me to drive their horses in track work. And I'm looking back on people like the late Eddie Sims, the late Owen Glendenning, Percy Hoare, Vic Frost on occasions on the South Coast. I can remember visiting Vic's stables and driving one or two of his horses in track work. It was definitely a diversion and a stress release, and I enjoyed it very much. And I think deep down, I felt that one day I might train a horse or two myself, and that finally transpired.
So as I mentioned at the top of the podcast, we're going to leave the John Tapp chat there. I'm going to play the second half of the interview next week where we go more into his harness racing career. I talk to him about what he's doing these days. So make sure you tune in for that next week on the Sunday session. Once again, congratulations to John on being inducted into the Australian Racing Hall of Fame.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Winning. Hey, that's pretty good.
Winner!
That was legitness.
That I say, all right. Wow, winning.
Bam! Just like that. That's all there is to it, Dustin. That's all there is to it. A winner! Just like that.
And the winner is...
Well, Mr. T got a winner, and I struck out with my two. His winner only paid $1.30, I think, so not a great week for either. The updated leaderboard has me at plus $8, and Mr. T is minus 25. So I've got a little bit of a lead, but that could easily evaporate this week. Mr. T, he's going to Bathurst on Wednesday. In race 2, he's going with number 1, Comanche Warrior. Jai Coney's going to drive for Nathan Turnbull. Horse has had plenty of starts in its career. 19 starts this season yet to win. Has been placed on 3 occasions. Went round at Parks last time out, finished 6th, but was placed 2nd 2 starts ago. So Mr. T suggesting Comanche Warrior will run a good race off Barrier 1 on Wednesday. That's race 2, number 1. And the second of his tips comes up in race 5, number 2. He's chiming again. In as a $10,000 claimer, Nathan Turnbull. This time Jet Turnbull takes the drive. And Mr. T suggesting that it can get back into the winners list. Its last win was back on the 7th of May. And since then has had the 5 starts and only been placed twice. Was midfield last time out when 6th. Beaten a long way. But Mr. T says, look out, it can bounce back into the winners list. That's race 5, number 2. He's chiming. My 2, Menangle Tuesday. Race 6, number 10, Jarlanil. Got himself on the OD last time when he put in a few rough ones as the starter said go. He got squeezed late in the straight. I don't think he was going to win, even with a clear crack at them. He bumps into a few well-performed ones that aren't racing as well as they can, so I'll go with Jarlanil to impress off the wide draw. Race 6, number 10. And race 7, number 1, Holy Camp Dillon. Had to do a truckload of work last week and was beaten at the top of the straight. Comes up with Barrier 1 this time around, so should get a nice run, and Cam Hart will have a few options early. So I'll go with him in the last. That is race 7, number 1, Holy Camp Dillon. Fantasy harness racing. We've still got a Launceston to go this afternoon into tonight. But looking at the leaderboard, Manning 90 leads by 50 points. So Manning 90's on 16,067 points. Boilover 16,017. And Sir Jimmy's All-Stars has climbed into third on 15,829. Still a race in 2 up the top. Round 21, as mentioned, Launceston still to go. Fred 25 is on 803. Exuberant Bullfrog on 801. And Dynamic Poplar and GRMC on 789. Only a few weeks to go and some great prizes to be won, so good luck for those who are still in contention. Just about wraps up the podcast for another week, longer than normal, but I wanted to acknowledge and catch up with John Tapp, even if it was for something in the galloping code, after he was such a great servant for our sport for so many years. Thanks to Mick Stanley, thanks to Zara Fitzpatrick, and of course John. I'll catch up with you again next week, but it's bye for now.